Dr. Alex Chen had always loved the quiet, living alone in his research station deep in the Rocky Mountains. He spent his days studying how plants survived in harsh weather. It was peaceful work, just him and nature. No office politics, no crowded cities, no complicated relationships to mess up his life. That peaceful life ended on a stormy Tuesday night in October. Alex was finishing his evening coffee when the sky lit up like daytime. Through his cabin window, he saw something bright streak across the dark clouds. At first, he thought it was lightning. But lightning doesn't make that weird humming sound. Lightning doesn't leave a trail of silver sparks hanging in the air. The object crashed somewhere in the forest, maybe 2 miles from his station. Alex felt the ground shake under his feet. His coffee mug rattled on the table, every bird in the forest went silent at once. Alex grabbed his emergency kit and flashlight. As a scientist, his curiosity always won over his common sense. Plus, if someone was hurt out there, he might be the only person who could help. The nearest town was 50 miles away, and rescue teams would take ours to arrive in this weather. The hike through the dark forest was harder than expected. Rain poured down, making the rocky trail slippery and dangerous. Tree branches whipped across his face. His flashlight beam danced wildly as he stumbled over roots and rocks. But something kept pulling him forward. Maybe it was the faint glow. He could see through the trees ahead. When Alex finally reached the crash site, his jaw dropped. This wasn't a small plane or helicopter. The twisted metal wreckage looked like nothing he'd ever seen. The hull was made of some kind of smooth, dark material that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols were carved along what might have been the side of the craft. Parts of it were still glowing with an eerie blue light, but the real shock came when he heard a soft moan from inside the wreckage. Someone was alive in there. Alex squeezed through a gap in the twisted metal, following the sound. The inside of the craft was filled with smoke and sparks from damaged equipment. Through the haze, he saw her. The woman was unconscious, trapped under a fallen beam. But she wasn't quite human. Her skin had a pale blue tint, like moonlight on snow. Her hair was silver white, longer than his arm, and seemed to shimmer even in the dim light. Strange markings ran along her arms and neck, almost like tattoos, but they seemed to pulse with their own faint glow. Alex stared for a long moment, his scientific mind trying to process what he was seeing. Then his medical training kicked in. Whoever or whatever she was, she needed help immediately. The beam across her legs was heavier than it looked, but adrenaline gave Alex extra strength. He managed to lift it just enough for her to slide free. She had several bad burns on her arms, from sparking wires, and her breathing was shallow. Her pulse felt different from a human's, slightly faster and with an odd rhythm. But she was definitely alive. Getting her back to his cabin through the storm was the hardest thing Alex had ever done. She was tall, almost his height, and completely dead weight. He had to stop every few minutes to rest and make sure she was still breathing. By the time he reached his research station, both of them were soaked and covered in mud. Alex laid her on his couch and did what he could with his first aid supplies. He cleaned her wounds and bandaged the worst burns. Her body temperature seemed higher than normal for a human, so he kept her covered with blankets but didn't use the heater. All he could do then was wait and hope she would wake up. For 3 days, Alex barely left her side. He checked her pulse every hour and made sure she stayed hydrated by giving her small sips of water. When she stirred, during the quiet hours, he found himself studying her features up close. The differences from humans were even more obvious. Her ears came to slight points at the tips. Her fingers were longer and more elegant. The markings on her skin definitely weren't tattoos. They seemed to be part of her natural coloring. On the 3rd morning, her eyes opened. They were the most beautiful eyes Alex had ever seen, a deep violet color that seemed to hold tiny stars. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Alex felt his heart racing, though he wasn't sure if it was from fear or something else entirely. She sat up slowly, wincing from her injuries. When she tried to speak, the sounds that came out weren't in any language Alex recognized. They were musical, almost like singing, but with complex tones his voice could never make. Alex pointed to himself and said slowly, "Alex." Then he pointed to her and made a questioning gesture. She seemed to understand. She touched her chest and made a series of flowing sounds. It was beautiful but impossible for him to repeat. Seeing his confusion, she tried again, this time making simpler sounds. "Zara," she said, breaking it into pieces he could follow. "Zara," Alex repeated. And she smiled. That smile changed everything. It was warm and grateful and completely human. Despite everything else about her that wasn't. In that moment, Alex realized he wasn't afraid anymore. Confused, excited, and completely out of his depth. Yes, but not afraid. Over the next few hours, they worked out a basic system of communication using gestures, simple drawings, and Zara's surprising ability to pick up English words. She was clearly intelligent, learning new vocabulary almost as fast as he could teach it. By evening, she could form simple sentences. That's when Alex learned the truth that would change his life forever. Zara wasn't just from another country or even another planet. She was royalty, a princess from a star system called Kirill. Her people were called Carillions, and they had been watching Earth for a long time. She had been fleeing from enemies on her home world when her ship broke down and crashed. But the most shocking news came when she explained something called Jidal. In her culture, when someone saves your life, you owe them a debt that can never be fully repaid. The person who saved you becomes the most important person in your world. And according to Carillion law, the highest honor you can give your lifesaver is to become their mate and protector. Alex nearly choked on his coffee when she explained this part. "You want to what now?" he asked, sure he had misunderstood. Zara looked very serious as she repeated it in her careful English. "I must be your mate. It's Carillion way. You saved Zara's life, so Zara's life belongs to you now." Alex rubbed his face with both hands. 3 days ago, his biggest worry was whether his grant funding would continue next year. Now he had an alien princess on his couch telling him she was duty-bound to marry him. "Zara," he said gently, "on Earth, people choose their own mates. We don't have arranged marriages based on life debts." She looked genuinely confused by this. "But you saved Zara. Zara must honor Jidal, is most sacred law of my people." Alex could see this was going to be complicated, not just because he had never expected to have this conversation with anyone, let alone someone from another planet, but also because, despite the impossible situation, he found himself attracted to this strange, beautiful woman who had literally fallen from the sky into his quiet life. As if the situation wasn't complex enough, Zara had more news. Her enemies, the ones she had been running from, were planning to invade Earth. They wanted the planet's resources and saw humans as primitive beings who wouldn't be able to resist. Zara had been trying to reach Earth's governments to warn them. When her ship failed, "How long do we have?" Alex asked. Zara looked worried. "Not long. Maybe few months. They think Zara dead now, so they not hurry. But they come." Alex stared out his cabin window at the peaceful forest. Somewhere up there, beyond the stars he could see on clear nights, an alien army was preparing to invade his world, and the only warning they had came from a princess who believed she was now bound to him for life. He looked back at Zara, who was watching him with those incredible violet eyes. She had risked everything to try to save a planet full of strangers. She had crashed on an alien world, been rescued by someone she'd never met, and was now offering to spend her life protecting him according to laws he didn't understand. The smart thing would be to contact the authorities immediately. Let the government handle first contact with an alien species. Let the military worry about the invasion threat. Go back to his quiet life studying plants and leave the fate of the world to people who were trained for this kind of thing. But as Alex looked at Zara, still weak from her injuries, but determined to honor what she saw as a sacred obligation, he realized his quiet life was over whether he wanted it to be or not. This incredible woman had chosen to trust him with the most important secret in human history. The least he could do was try to be worthy of that trust. "Okay, Zara," he said finally. "Tell me everything. What are we up against?" The next morning, Alex woke up to find Zara sitting cross-legged on his floor. Her eyes closed and glowing markings pulsing softly along her arms. She looked like she was meditating, but strange symbols were floating in the air around her head like tiny holograms. Zara? Alex called softly, not wanting to startle her. Her eyes snapped open, and the floating symbols disappeared. "Good morning, Alex," she said, and he nearly dropped his coffee mug. Her English was perfect now, complete with an accent. That sounded like a mix of British and something musical he couldn't place. "How did you?" He started. "Neural interface," she explained, tapping her temple. "I connected to your planet's communication networks while you slept. Satellite signals, internet data, television broadcasts. I have absorbed what you call Wikipedia, several dictionaries, and approximately 47 hours of something called Netflix." Alex blinked. "You learn English by watching Netflix, among other things. Your entertainment media was very educational about human mating rituals," Zara said seriously. "Though I am confused why humans seem to prefer partners who treat them poorly. This does not seem logical for species survival." "Yeah, well, humans aren't always logical about relationships," Alex muttered, then realized what she'd said. "Wait, you were researching human mating rituals?" Zara stood gracefully, and Alex noticed she moved differently now that she wasn't injured. Every motion was fluid and precise, like a dancer or a martial artist. "Of course, if I am to be your mate, I must understand human customs. I do not wish to dishonor you through ignorance. Zara, we talked about this." "You don't have to. I have prepared a courtship offering," she interrupted, walking to the kitchen. On his counter sat what looked like a small mountain of something. It was furry and definitely dead. "Is that a squirrel?" Alex asked weakly. "3 squirrels. 2 rabbits, and 1 creature I believe you call a raccoon," Zara said proudly. "I hunted them at dawn to prove my ability to provide for you, on Kirill. A mate must demonstrate they can supply protein for the family unit." Alex stared at the pile of woodland creatures. You hunted these with your bare hands?" "Of course not. That would be inefficient." Zara held up what looked like a silver pen, but hummed with energy. "Stun weapon." They did not. "Suffer right. Okay." Alex rubbed his forehead. "Zara, humans don't usually hunt for each other anymore. We buy food from stores." She looked confused. "But how do you prove your worth as a provider?" "We have jobs. We earn money. It's complicated." Zara nodded seriously, as if filing this information away. "I see. I must adapt to human customs. What is the next step in proper courtship procedure?" Before Alex could answer, there was a loud crash from his living room. They rushed in to find that Zara had apparently rearranged all his furniture. His couch now sat on top of his coffee table. His bookshelf was lying on its side to form a sort of barrier, and his desk chairs were stacked. "In a pyramid, I have fortified your dwelling," Zara announced. "A mate must ensure their chosen one has proper protection. Your previous defensive arrangements were inadequate." Alex looked around his transformed living room. "This was my furniture, not a fort. Now it is both. Very efficient. Yes, Zara?" Alex started, then stopped. She was looking at him with such hopeful expectation that he didn't have the heart to tell her. She basically destroyed his living room. "It's very creative." Her face lit up with pride. "Excellent. Now I must demonstrate my physical prowess." She walked over to the small home gym in the corner and picked up his heaviest weights. Alex watched in amazement as she began doing bicep curls with what looked like no effort at all. "These are quite light," she commented, doing rapid repetitions with 40-pound dumbbells. "Do humans have difficulty with basic strength requirements?" "Those aren't light, Zara. Most people can't lift those at all." She looked genuinely surprised. "But how do you survive? How do you fight off predators or defend your territory? We don't really have predators anymore. And we have police and military for defending territory." Zara set down the weights and studied him carefully. "Your species is very different from mine. Carillion males must prove their strength in combat before they can court a mate. Females must demonstrate hunting ability, protective instincts, and strategic thinking. And you're trying to do all of those things for me, Alex realized naturally. You are my chosen mate. I must prove I am worthy of the honor you have given me by allowing me to serve the Jeetle. Alex sat down heavily in one of his chairs that wasn't currently part of Zara's furniture fort. Zara, can we talk about this Jeetle thing? Because I think there's been a misunderstanding. She immediately sat across from him, giving him her complete attention. Please explain. On Earth, when someone saves another person's life, we don't expect anything in return. We do it because it's the right thing to do. There's no debt created. Zara looked genuinely shocked. But how do you maintain social order? How do you ensure loyalty and honor without the bonds of obligation? We try to be good to each other because we want to be, not because we have to be. This concept is foreign to me, Zara admitted, on Carol. All relationships are based on clearly defined obligations and honors. It provides stability and purpose. What about love? Alex asked gently. Love? She tilted her head. I have learned this word from your media, but I do not fully understand it. Is it similar to loyalty? Alex felt his heart do something complicated in his chest. Here was this incredible woman from the stars who had risked everything to save his planet, and she didn't even know what love was. Love is caring about someone more than yourself. He said slowly, it's wanting to make them happy, wanting to protect them, wanting to share your life with them. Not because you have to, but because you can't imagine not doing it. Zara was quiet for a long moment. This love, it is voluntary, completely voluntary. You choose to love someone, and they choose to love you back, or they don't, and then you have to respect that choice. But why would someone not choose love if it brings happiness? Alex laughed. But not in a mean way. That's actually a really good question. Humans are complicated, Zara. Sometimes we're afraid of being hurt. Sometimes we think we're not good enough. Sometimes we just haven't met the right person yet. And you, Zara said carefully, have you experienced this love? Alex thought about his ex-fiancée, Rebecca, who had left him 2 years ago because she said his work was more important to him than she was. Maybe she'd been right. Maybe that's why he'd chosen to live alone in the mountains, studying plants instead of dealing with the messiness of human relationships. Once, he said, it didn't work out because you were not compatible mates, because we wanted different things from life. She wanted someone ambitious, someone who would climb the career ladder and give her the lifestyle she dreamed of. I wanted someone who could be happy with a simple life in the wilderness. Zara nodded thoughtfully. So compatibility is important for human mating success. Relationships, Alex corrected gently. We call them relationships, and yes, compatibility matters a lot. Are we compatible? She asked with startling directness. Alex looked at her sitting there surrounded by his rearranged furniture, having just offered him a pile of dead woodland creatures as a courtship gift. By any reasonable standard, they were probably the least compatible to beings in the universe. But then he remembered how she'd risked her life to warn Earth about the invasion, how she'd trusted him completely when she was injured and helpless, how she was trying so hard to understand his world, even when his customs made no sense to her. I don't know yet, he said honestly, but I'd like to find out. Zara smiled, and again Alex felt that strange flutter in his chest. This pleases me. I too would like to understand this love concept better. Their conversation was interrupted by a low humming sound from outside. Zara's entire body went rigid, and the markings on her skin began glowing brighter. What is that? Alex asked. Zara was already moving toward the window, her previous casual demeanor replaced by something alert and dangerous. Scout ships. She said grimly, the Dominion has found me. Alex joined her at the window and saw 3 silver objects hovering above the forest, each about the size of a small plane, but moving in ways that defied physics. How long do we have? He asked. Minutes, maybe less. Zara turned to him, and her expression was fierce. Alex, I need you to understand something. The Jeetle means I will protect you with my life, whether you accept it or not. It is not a choice for me, Zara. But, she continued, I am beginning to think that perhaps I would want to protect you even without the Jeetle. This feeling is new to me, and I do not fully understand it. Alex realized she was trying to tell him she was falling in love. Even though she didn't have the words for it yet, the humming outside grew louder. "We need to run," Zara said. Alex grabbed his emergency pack and looked around his cabin one last time. His quiet, simple life was about to end permanently. But as he watched Zara efficiently preparing for whatever was coming, he realized he didn't want his old life back anymore. He wanted to see where this impossible situation would lead them. "Ready," he told her. Zara smiled grimly. "Then let us see if humans can run as fast as they can love." Alex had barely grabbed his emergency pack when the first energy blast hit his cabin. The wooden walls exploded in a shower of splinters and smoke, where his kitchen used to be. There was now a smoldering hole big enough to drive a truck through. "Move," Zara shouted, pushing him toward the back door. They ran into the forest just as another blast destroyed what was left of his home. Alex looked back to see 20 years of his life's work disappearing in flames. His research, his books, his quiet sanctuary, all gone in seconds. "I'm sorry," Zara said as they sprinted between the trees. She wasn't even breathing hard, while Alex was already getting winded. "This is my fault. They tracked my energy signature." Less talking, more running, Alex gasped out behind them. He could hear strange voices calling out in that musical language Zara had first spoken. But these voices weren't beautiful like hers. They sounded harsh and commanding. They ran for what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes. Alex's lungs were burning, and his legs felt like rubber. Just when he thought he couldn't take another step, Zara grabbed his arm and pulled him behind a fallen tree. "Stay down," she whispered. "And whatever happens, don't make a sound." Through the undergrowth, Alex saw them. 3 figures in dark armor that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. They moved through the forest like ghosts, barely disturbing the leaves. Each one carried a weapon that hummed with the same energy that had destroyed his cabin. The leader stopped not 10 feet from their hiding spot. When he removed his helmet, Alex saw a face that was similar to Zara's but harder, crueler. His skin was pale blue like hers, but his markings were black instead of silver, and they pulsed with an angry red light. He said something in their language, and Zara tensed beside Alex. She whispered a translation so quietly he could barely hear it. "He says they know I'm here. He can smell my fear. Can you fight them?" Alex whispered back. 3 Dominion hunters. Zara shook her head grimly. "I am good, but I am not suicidal." The leader called out again, this time in English. "Princess Zara of House Kirill, you dishonor yourself by hiding with this primitive creature. Come out, and we will make your death quick." Alex felt anger flare in his chest. He didn't like being called primitive, especially by someone who was hunting the woman he was starting to care about. "Your death will not be quick, human," the leader continued. "Commander Vex has special plans for the alien lover who corrupted our princess." "Vex," Zara breathed, and Alex heard real fear in her voice for the first time. "Who's Vex?" He whispered. "My former betrothed," she said. "The one I was supposed to marry before I discovered the invasion plans and fled." "Great," Alex thought. An alien ex-boyfriend with advanced weapons and a personal grudge. This day just kept getting better. The hunters moved on, but Zara kept them hidden for another 10 minutes before she felt it was safe to move. When they finally started walking, again, Alex noticed she was limping. "You're hurt," he said. "It's nothing. A branch caught my leg during the run." Alex stopped walking. "Let me see, Alex. We don't have time. If you can't walk properly, we're both dead. Let me see." Reluctantly, Zara sat on a fallen log and rolled up her pant leg. There was a deep gash along her calf, and it was bleeding more than she'd let on. Alex cleaned it with water from his pack and wrapped it with his spare shirt. "You are skilled at healing," Zara observed. "I took wilderness first aid courses. Living alone in the mountains, you have to be prepared for accidents." He finished tying the makeshift bandage. "There, that should hold until we can get you proper medical attention." "Where will we go?" Zara asked. "The hunters will track us wherever we run." Alex had been thinking about that. "We need help. The kind of help that comes with official government backing and military protection. You wish to contact your authorities? It's our best shot." They need to know about the invasion anyway. And maybe they can protect us long enough to figure out how to stop it. Zara looked worried. Your people will not trust me. I am an alien. In your entertainment media, aliens are often portrayed as invaders or threats. Some will be afraid, Alex admitted. But others will want to learn. Humans are curious by nature. The chance to make first contact with a friendly alien species? Scientists will be lining up to meet you. And you believe they will help us? Alex looked at her sitting there, injured and far from home. Still worried about saving his planet even though her own people were hunting her. Sarah, if they don't help us after meeting you, then they're idiots. She smiled at that. You have faith in your species? I have faith in you, Alex said, and realized he meant it completely. They walked for another hour before Alex spotted the ranger station through the trees. It was a small building, but it had radio equipment and a satellite. Uplink. More importantly, the ranger on duty was Dave Mitchell, an old friend from Alex's college days. Alex, Dave stared at them through the screen door. Man, what happened to you? You look like you've been through a war zone. Something like that, Dave. I need to use your satellite phone. It's a matter of national security. Dave's eyebrows shot up. National security? Alex, you study plants. Not anymore. Alex glanced at Zara, who was trying to stay in the shadows. Dave, I need you to sit down for this. It took 20 minutes to explain everything. Dave went through several stages of disbelief, shock, and finally acceptance when Zara demonstrated her abilities by making her markings glow and levitating Dave's coffee mug with some kind of energy field. Holy, Dave sat down hard in his chair. This is really happening. It gets worse, Alex said. There's an invasion force coming. We need to contact the Pentagon, NASA. Somebody with enough authority to coordinate a response. Dave nodded shakily and reached for his emergency communication equipment. I've got a direct line to regional command. They can patch us through to whoever needs to hear this while Dave made the calls. Alex and Zara waited outside. The sun was setting, painting the mountains in shades of gold and red. Under different circumstances, it would have been beautiful. Are you afraid? Zara asked quietly, terrified. Alex admitted, this morning I was a botanist. Tonight I'm apparently involved in an intergalactic conflict. Fear seems like a reasonable response. I am afraid too, Zara said. Not of the hunters or even of Vex. I am afraid that your people will see me as a threat and separate us. Alex looked at her in the fading light. Her silver hair caught the last rays of sunlight, and her violet eyes seemed to hold depth sea. Was only beginning to explore, somehow, in just a few days. This alien princess had become the most important person in his world. They won't separate us, he said firmly. I won't let them. You cannot promise that, Alex. Your authorities will do what they think is best for your planet. Then I'll have to convince them that what's best for the planet is keeping us together. Alex reached over and took her hand. Her skin was warm, and he could feel the faint pulse of energy from her markings. Besides, you still owe me that life debt, right? They'll have to respect alien customs. Zara laughed, the first genuinely happy sound he'd heard from her all day. You are learning to think like a Carillion, using honor and duty to get what you want. I'm learning from the best teacher. Their moment was interrupted by Dave calling. From inside, Alex, get in here. They want to talk to both of you. And they're sending helicopters to pick you up. This is really happening, man. First contact with alien life. And it's happening at my ranger station. Alex and Zara looked at each other. This was it. In a few hours, their story would go from personal to global. The quiet botanist and the alien princess would become the center of the most important event in human history. Ready? Alex asked. Zara squeezed his hand. With you, I can face anything. As they walked back into the ranger station, Alex had no idea that within hours, they would be fugitives running for their lives once again. But this time, they wouldn't just be running from alien hunters, they would be running from his own government. The government facility they took Alex and Zara to look like something out of a spy movie. Underground tunnels, concrete walls, and men in black suits everywhere. Alex counted at least 20 different agencies represented in the first hour. Alone, CIA, FBI, NASA, military officials, and people with badges he didn't recognize. "This is incredible," Dr. Patricia Williams from NASA kept saying as she ran another scan on Zara. "The bone density, the neural pathways, the way her cellular structure processes energy, it's like nothing we've ever seen." Zara submitted to the test patiently, but Alex could see the tension in her shoulders. She wasn't used to being studied like a lab specimen. On her world, she was royalty. Here, she was a curiosity. "How long until the invasion fleet arrives?" General Morrison asked for the 10th time. "I told you," Zara replied calmly. "Perhaps 2 months, maybe 3. They believe I am dead, so they are not rushing. But they will come, and you're certain. They plan to conquer Earth, not conquer. Harvest." Zara's voice was flat. "The Dominion sees your people as a primitive species occupying valuable resources. They will eliminate most of your population and keep the rest as workers." The room went silent. Alex watched the faces around the table go pale as they processed what that meant. "How many ships?" Another official asked. 300 primary warships, plus support vessels. Each ship carries approximately 5,000 soldiers. Alex did the math in his head and felt sick. Over 1 million alien soldiers, each one probably as strong and fast as Zara, coming to wipe out humanity. "What are their weaknesses, General?" Morrison demanded. "They are arrogant," Zara said. "They believe no species can match their technology or fighting skills. This makes them predictable in some ways. But Alex, they are not wrong about their advantages. Your current weapons would be like throwing rocks at their ships. Then how do we fight them?" Dr. Williams asked. "You don't fight them alone," Zara said. "The loyalist forces from my world want to help. But first, we must contact them and coordinate a joint defense. And how exactly do we do that?" the general asked. Zara was quiet for a moment. "I need to return to Carillion space temporarily. My people have a communication array that can reach Earth instantly. But I cannot leave Alex here." "Why not?" Alex and Zara exchanged glances. They hadn't told the officials about the life debt. It seemed too complicated to explain. And Alex wasn't sure these military types would understand or respect alien customs. "She's concerned about the Dominion hunters," Alex said. "They're specifically targeting both of us now." It wasn't completely a lie. Commander Dex had made it clear that Alex was on his hit list too. The meeting continued for hours. Plans were made, resources allocated, and contacts established. Alex found himself appointed as an official liaison between Zara and the human governments. It wasn't a job he'd ever wanted, but he was apparently the only human Zara completely trusted. That night, they were given quarters in the secure facility, to rooms connected by a common area, with guards posted outside. Alex was exhausted, but he couldn't sleep. Too much had happened to fast. Around midnight, Zara knocked on his door. "Can't sleep either?" he asked, letting her in. "I am worried," she admitted. "Your people are good, but they do not understand what they face. The Dominion has conquered 17 worlds. Earth will be number 18 unless we can change the odds significantly." Alex sat on his couch, and Zara settled beside him. Even in the sterile government facility, she managed to look graceful and otherworldly. "There's something else bothering you," Alex observed. "What is it?" Zara was quiet for a long moment. "Commander Chiron contacted me today." "Who's Commander Chiron?" "My father's most trusted general. He raised me after my parents died in a border conflict. He is like a second father to me." Zara's markings dimmed slightly. "He says the Loyalist fleet is ready to help Earth. But I must return to coordinate the defense personally." "That's good news, right?" "Yes, but" Zara turned to face him. "Alex, if I go back to Carillion space, there's a chance I will not return. The political situation is complex. Some of our people still believe the Dominion's way is correct. They might try to execute me as a traitor." Alex felt his stomach drop. "Then don't go. I must. Without the Loyalist fleet, Earth has no chance. There has to be another way." Zara reached over and took his hand. "This is why the Jeedal exists, Alex. Sometimes honor requires sacrifice. I owe you my life. But more than that, I owe your people their freedom. What if I went with you? Zara's eyes widened. Alex, no. It would be incredibly dangerous, and you have no legal standing in Carillion society. Actually, I might. Alex had been thinking about this since their conversation with the officials. You said the life debt makes me important in your culture, right? What if we made it official? What do you mean? Alex took a deep breath. This was either the bravest or stupidest thing he'd ever considered. What if we got married? According to Carillion law, would that give me legal rights in your society? Zara stared at him. Alex, you cannot be serious. Why not? You said yourself that becoming mates is the highest way to honor the Jeedle. And if I'm your legal husband according to your laws, they'd have to recognize my right to be there. But you said humans choose their mates freely. You said love should be voluntary. Alex looked into her violet eyes and realized something that probably should have scared him. But didn't. It would be voluntary. Zara, I'm not doing this just because of some alien law or to help save the world. I'm doing it because, he paused, trying to find the right words, because somewhere between you hunting squirrels and rearranging my furniture, I started falling in love with you. Zara's markings began glowing brighter. You love me? Yeah, I think I do. Is that okay? Instead of answering, Zara kissed him. It was soft and sweet and tasted like starlight, if starlight had a taste. When they broke apart, her eyes were shining. I do not fully understand this love yet, she said. But I know that when I think of leaving you behind, my chest feels hollow. And when I imagine never seeing you again, it causes physical pain. Is this what love feels like? That's exactly what it feels like, Alex said, smiling. Then yes, Alex, Chen of Earth, I will be your mate according to both our customs. But are you certain? Once we perform the Carillion bonding ceremony, it cannot be undone. Neither can human marriage. If you do it right, Zara laughed, then we will do both day. Human wedding and a Carillion bonding. That way, both our peoples will have to respect our union. They spent the rest of the night making plans. It wouldn't be a traditional wedding by any stretch of the imagination. But nothing about their relationship had been traditional so far. The next morning, Alex woke up feeling more confident about their chances. They had a plan, they had each other, and they had the backing of Earth's governments. What he didn't know was that everything was about to fall apart at breakfast. General Morrison approached their table with a grim expression. We have a problem, he said quietly. Commander Chiron's message yesterday. Our cryptographers finally finished analyzing it. What did they find? Zara asked. The transmission was traced back to its origin point. It didn't come from Loyalist space, Zara. It came from a Dominion command ship. Alex watched the color drain from Zara's face. That's impossible. Chiron would never. I'm sorry. The general said. But we have to consider the possibility that your Commander Chiron has been compromised, or worse, that he's been working with the Dominion all along. Zara stood up so fast her chair fell over. No, you're wrong. Chiron raised me. He loved my parents. He would never betray our people. Zara, Alex said gently. But she was already backing away from the table. You don't understand. Chiron is the only family I have left. He would die before betraying me. Maybe he already has, General Morrison said grimly. The message contained detailed information about this facility's location and security protocols. Information that only you would know. Alex saw the exact moment Zara realized what the general was implying. Her face went from shocked to devastated to furious in the span of seconds. You think I'm the traitor, she whispered. We have to consider all possibilities after everything I've done. After risking my life to warn you, Zara's markings were now pulsing with angry red light. I crashed on your planet trying to save you, which could have been an elaborate deception. Another official said, entering the conversation. How do we know the invasion story is even real? Alex stood up, his own anger rising. Because she nearly died trying to tell us about it, or because she's a very good actress. That's when the alarm started blaring through the facility's speakers. An announcement echoed. Security breach in Section C. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Alex and Zara looked at each other, and he saw the same realization. In her eyes that he felt in his gut. The Dominion had found them. And this time, there was nowhere left to run. The explosion that rocked the facility sent Alex and Zara tumbling to the floor. Emergency lights bathed everything in red, and the sound of energy weapons echoed through the corridors. How did they find us? General Morrison shouted over the alarms. The same way they knew our security protocols, Alex said grimly. Someone told them. Zara was already on her feet, her warrior instincts taking over. We need to get to the surface, underground. We are trapped. The princess is right. Came a familiar voice from the doorway. Commander Chiron stepped into the room, but he wasn't alone. Behind him stood 6 Dominion soldiers in their liquid metal armor. Chiron, Zara's face lit up with relief, then immediately darkened as she saw his companions. What is the meaning of this? The man who had raised her looked older than Alex had expected, with deep lines around his violet eyes and silver hair pulled back in a military style. But there was something cold in his expression that made Alex's skin crawl. I'm sorry, child, Chiron said sadly, but this charade has gone on long enough. Your rebellion has caused enough damage to our people. My rebellion? Zara stared at him in disbelief. Chiron, they plan to destroy entire civilizations. How can you support that? Because it ensures our survival, Chiron replied. The Dominion offers us a place in the New Order. Without their protection, the Carillion people will eventually face extinction from other threats in the galaxy. By becoming monsters ourselves, by being practical, Chiron gestured to his soldiers. Surrender now, and I promise your human will have a quick death. Continue to resist, and he will suffer greatly before the end. Alex felt his blood run cold. But he stepped closer to Zara instead of backing away. She's not surrendering to you, Chiron looked at Alex with something like amusement. The primitive speaks. Tell me, human, do you truly believe you can protect her from us? I don't have to protect her, Alex said, surprising everyone including himself. She can protect herself. And us, and this entire planet, if you give her the chance. Alex, Zara whispered. What are you doing? Something I should have done days ago. Alex said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Zara of House Kirill, Princess of the Carillion Empire, I formally accept your Jeetal. I claim you as my mate, according to your laws, and I pledge my life to yours according to mine. The room went completely silent except for the distant alarms. Even the Dominion soldiers seemed confused. What are you doing? General Morrison hissed. Carillion bonding law, Alex said, keeping his eyes on Chiron. If I accept the life debt formally, Zara becomes my legal mate under their customs, and according to what she taught me. That means she has the right to challenge anyone who threatens her bonded mate to single combat. Zara's eyes went wide as she understood his plan. Alex, that's incredibly dangerous. If I lose, you won't lose, Alex said with complete confidence, because you're not just fighting for duty anymore. You're fighting for love. Chiron's expression had turned thunderous. You think you understand our laws, human? I think I understand them better than you do. Alex shot back, because a real Carillion would never sell out their own people to alien invaders. You're not a patriot, Chiron. You're a traitor. Enough. Chiron drew his weapon. But Zara was faster. What happened next was like watching a dance. Zara moved with fluid grace, disarming two soldiers before they could react. Her markings blazed with silver light as she channeled energy through her body, making her faster and stronger than humanly possible. But there were too many of them, and they had advanced weapons. Within minutes, Zara was bleeding from multiple wounds, backed against the wall with Alex behind her. You fought well, child, Chiron said sadly. But it's over. That's when Alex remembered something from their first day together. Zara had learned English by connecting to Earth's communication networks. She had absorbed information from satellites, internet databases, and television broadcasts. Zara, he said quietly, you downloaded military protocols too, didn't you? Along with everything else? She glanced back at him, confused. Yes, but then you know about nuclear launch codes, defense satellite networks, every military installation on the planet. Understanding dawned in Zara's eyes. Alex, you're insane. Sometimes insane is the only option left. Alex raised his voice. Chiron, here's the deal. You let us go, or Zera transmits Earth's complete military capabilities to every government on the planet. Think they'll hesitate to use their most powerful weapons if they know aliens are already here? Humans would not destroy their own planet, Chiron scoffed. You clearly don't know humans very well, General Morrison said with a grim smile. Kid's got a point. We've been one button push away from ending the world for decades. Finding out aliens want to invade us, that might just push us over the edge. Besides, Alex continued, Zera's already transmitted a message to the Loyalist forces, haven't you? Zera caught on immediately. Of course. They know everything about the Dominion's plans now, and they know you betrayed us, Chiron. It was a complete bluff, but Chiron couldn't be sure. Alex watched doubt creep into the older man's eyes. You're lying, Chiron said. But he sounded less certain. Am I? You trained her, Chiron. You know how thorough she is. Did you really think she wouldn't have backup plans? The standoff stretched for long seconds. Then one of the Dominion soldiers said something urgent in their language. Chiron's face went pale. What did he say? Alex demanded. Loyalist ships, Zera translated, her eyes lighting up with hope. They've entered Earth's solar system. Through the facility's communication system, a new voice crackled to life. It spoke in Carillion first, then switched to heavily accented English. This is Admiral Taven of the Carillion Loyalist Fleet. We have received Princess Zera's transmission and are moving to defend Earth from Dominion aggression. All Dominion forces are ordered to withdraw immediately or face destruction. Chiron closed his eyes in defeat. You have won this battle, Zera, but the war is far from over. No, Zera said firmly, the war is over. You just haven't accepted it. Yet, what followed was a tensor of negotiations. The Loyalist fleet, it turned out, had been secretly preparing for months. Zera's warning had given them the final intelligence. They needed to move against the Dominion decisively. The invasion fleet was intercepted 3 days later, far from Earth, without the element of surprise, and facing a coalition of loyalists. Forces and Earth's governments working together, the Dominion was forced to retreat. Chiron was taken into custody by his own people. As they led him away, he looked back at Zera one last time. I truly believe I was protecting our people, he said quietly. I know, Zera replied. That's what makes this so sad. 6 months later, Alex stood in the garden behind the New Earth Carillion embassy, watching Zera tend to a collection of plants from both worlds. She'd taken to botany with the same intensity she brought to everything else, and her greenhouse was now a wonder of interplanetary agriculture. The Terran roses are adapting well to Carillion soil nutrients, she announced, making notes on a tablet that hovered in midair. And the Carillion crystal flowers, growing beautifully in Earth conditions. I think we may have created something entirely new. Alex smiled. It seemed fitting. They had created something entirely new too. A relationship that bridged to worlds. Build on love instead of duty. Any word from the medical team? Alex asked. Zera's hand moved instinctively to her stomach, where their child was growing. The first human Carillion hybrid in history, and nobody knew what to expect. Dr. Williams says everything looks normal, by the standards of both species. Strong heartbeat, good development. She thinks the baby will be healthy and beautiful like her mother. Or handsome, like his father, Zera countered. Leaning against Alex's shoulder, they stood together in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and purple. In the distance, ships from both worlds moved peacefully through the atmosphere, carrying diplomats, scientists, and traders between Earth and the growing alliance of free worlds. Do you ever regret it? Zera asked quietly. Your quiet life in the mountains? Your simple existence studying plants? Alex thought about it seriously. His old life seemed like something from a dream now. Peaceful but lonely, safe but empty, no. He said finally, that life was about hiding from the world. This life is about helping to build a better one. Zera smiled and kissed his cheek. I love you. Alex Chen of Earth. I love you too. Zera of House Kirill. Princess of the Stars, Guardian of Worlds. And the most amazing thing that ever fell out of the sky. I did not fall. Zera protested with mock indignation. I crash-landed with style. Same thing, it is. Not the same, Alex silenced her with a kiss. Tasting starlight and possibilities and the promise of a future neither of them could have imagined. When they first met in that crashed ship dot above them, the first stars were appearing in the darkening sky, but they weren't looking up at distant lights anymore. They were looking at neighbors, friends, and the infinite potential of love that knew no boundaries, not even the vastness of space itself. Their story had begun with a life debt, but it had become something much more precious, a life shared, freely chosen, between two hearts that had found their home in each other.